Over the past few decades, Boston's population has become more diverse, but also with larger gaps in opportunities. Bridging the city's multiple divides is one of the goals of A Faith That Does Justice. To tell us about volunteer efforts to help more immigrants learn English is its founder and director, Father Peter Gyves. Also with us is the coordinator of the ESOL volunteer program, John Swords. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start with Peter Gyves because this is not the first thing of its kind, an effort to help immigrants learn English, but why do this?
Yeah, when I arrived in Boston, I went to some of the civic as well as religious leaders of the city and told them that we were interested in getting involved in some kind of an action program. And while it wasn't exclusively mentioned, the ESOL program, many people said that even though there are many ESOL programs in Boston, the demand is still very high. So we saw it as a niche that we could get into, especially in the downtown area of Boston where we are.
John, what about your background? You're going to be organizing this, I guess. Tell us a little bit about the connection there.
Well, my career was 40 years in the insurance business and mainly as an administrator. So I've been involved in running organizations, throughout my career and volunteering in various nonprofit organizations. And I came about into the working with A Faith That Does Justice through the Ignatian Volunteer Corps, which is an organization that assembles retired individuals that can commit maybe 2 days a week to doing various service projects in the Boston area.
Now, you've also been active in the foundation board for Bunker Hill Community College. So I guess there's a relevance to immigration there too, maybe.
Yeah, Bunker Hill does fantastic work, and it's just a great story. They have well over 15,000 people, going to being educated there on an annual basis, and it's a great place.
Well, what about the need for more volunteers to do this work? Because I know there are lots of nonprofits that have these classes, but I also hear about waiting lists too, right?
Yeah, John can probably speak better to this, but we do have a waiting list to get in. That the need is that great.
Yeah, we've recruited at mostly faith organizations, within the city. We've been in East Boston, we've been in Roxbury and Jamaica Plain, and on just a handful of visits trying to identify individuals that would be eligible for the program. We have well over 200 individuals that signed up, as interested in attending the English classes, and we're able to maybe accommodate anywhere from 20 during a given cycle of classes that we do. So you can see that the need is very much there.
Well, Gyves, talk about how learning the language can make a difference for people, because there are people here, they're willing to take almost any job, but if you don't know any English at all, there's a barrier.
Exactly. Going back about a year ago now, we partnered with Jewish Vocational Services, and when I went there, Jerry Rubin, who's the executive director there, he used an example. He said that when many people without English skills, they will be working, washing the dishes in a restaurant, something of that nature. Someone with English skills could be a waiter, and he said it is a direct correlation with English skills and pay. So that by using this, what they hope is that what we can do is raise the salaries that these people are getting, which has an impact on the family dynamic.
And John, I guess that's the case with a lot of the immigrants. You might think that their English is pretty bad, but you might find out also that they have a lot of skills and even some formal education too, right?
Well, they do. It's really an interesting group of people that you get to come into our English classes. They don't really have strong English skills, but they've got a great desire to learn. We even had a doctor show up from Venezuela. She was only in the country part-time, but while she was here, she wanted to, gain some greater English skills, and she came through the program.
Yeah. What about the skills needed to be an effective volunteer helping somebody learn English? What's involved in that?
Yeah, the way we do it is with our large meetings, we have two subsets of people. One are really the people in need. They come into these meetings who need English language skills, who are recently arrived people. And on the other hand, we have people perhaps like us, people who are educated, well settled within the country. And what we do is we try to invite a lot of our English-speaking people with educational background to be volunteers within the program. And they participate with a skilled teacher within the classroom to provide assistance. And the idea there is really to break down barriers, that while they're offering a skill to help people, on the other hand, they are hearing the stories of these people in return. And the idea there is that what we realize is that many of these people come from very, very disadvantaged backgrounds, and it tries to sensitize people to the plight of others coming into the country.
This is BNN News. We're talking with Father Peter Gyves and John Swords from Faith That Does Justice. John, what about that? What goes on when somebody is volunteering? Because is it teaching, or is it maybe just sitting there and listening to people?
Well, it's a combination of both, and we have teachers, and primarily they come through the community meetings at Faith That Does Justice, and some outreach that we do there. But we really have a whole number of people that want to volunteer and teach. And they're not teachers, they're retired people. Some are students, some are lawyers, some are religious. It's just anybody with a real desire, has some language skills and a desire to kind of help others gets involved. And there was one particularly poignant moment when at the end of one class, one of the students just came up and they hugged the teacher, because here was an environment that is very safe for them, and they're all kind of at the same language level. So, it might be a little bit of a risk for them to go out into the, outside of here to try and test their language skills. But in that environment, they feel very, very safe, and they really try to, and they really gain some experience speaking English and learning how to deal with just daily tasks.
John, I'm used to hearing about meeting a lot of young volunteers. What about retirees? I mean, you leave a job that you've had for many, many years, and there's this big void. What was it like for you?
Well, I think very much so. I think it's just a desire to give back anyways, and having, when you're in your career, the throes of your career, you're really focused upon that. Many times it's really hard to kind of focus on others. And I think this was just an opportunity to do that for me. So, and, I had the time. So it was really, it's been quite rewarding for me.
Right. Father Peter Gyves, another common denominator here is the Jesuit tradition. John went to Holy Cross. You're a Jesuit. Explain, what's the connection to this?
Well, the spirituality of this program would be Jesuit or Ignatian for sure. And really, in a word, that comes down to discernment, really trying to discern what it is that God is asking of each one of us. How can we use the gifts of our lives on behalf of people, all people, but especially people in need? And I think the origin of this program comes out of that kind of a desire to really take people who have had privileged lives to some extent and offer the gifts of those lives to people who are recently arrived and really struggling in Boston and throughout the country.
Sean, if people want to help out in this, what kind of a commitment are you looking for?
Well, there's a number of volunteer positions, but we can always use teachers because we try to, if we've got a class, and the classes are small, say 8 to 12 students, but we try to have a lead teacher and 2 tutors in every class. So you've got a student to teacher ratio of 1 to 3. So it's really the classes are 12-week sessions of classes. Meet 2 times a week for 2 hours. So really what we might be asking someone to do would be to be able to teach 1 class a week, which would be 2 hours, over a 12-week period. Or if they, can do it, we would ask them to teach 2 classes, which would be 4 hours a week over a 12-week period. So it's not a huge commitment, but it is a commitment because we really do, need everyone to be there. But it really becomes rewarding to them as soon as they step in that classroom and they see the smiles they can bring to some of the people's faces.
Finally, Father, if people want to follow up on this, there's a way they can call or go online?
Yes, they can reach us at the office at 857-990-3670, or they can enter into our webpage at faith-justice.org and can leave a message, and we'd be happy to follow up with them.
Thank you very much for being with us. Father Peter Gyves.
Thank you for having us.
And John Swords
Thank you,
from
Chris.
Faith That Does Justice.